Greetings. Hope everyone's having a beautiful day today. Today we're going to be speaking about color sciences and conversion reactions. In science, we have 7 basic colors. That's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. What we call this is the visible light spectrum. And then understanding that, we understand that there's other forms of waves or energy that exist outside of that visible light spectrum. So if I go above the violet light, we call that ultraviolet light. If I go below the red light, we call that infra, because infra means before or below. So infrared light is below red. So these are what we call the visible light spectrum, and then outside of that, those are other forms of wavelengths that we cannot see. So when we're speaking about delta ray waves or gamma waves, those are beyond what we call the visible or violet light spectrum. And then below the red would be radio waves, microwaves, those types of wavelengths. So the thing to be understood here is anything below the red light, those wavelengths are very, very long. So those wavelengths travel a very far distance. On the other side of that, the violet light, those wavelengths are very, very short and can penetrate through objects. So if I was to utilize anything on the short side beyond violet light, then that would be something like an X-ray, because X-ray is a very short wavelength, but it could penetrate through an object, which is why you can see inside of an object or a body. On the other side of that, since red light is very long, anything below that would be basically like a radio wave or a microwave, or for example, today we're talking about 4G, 5G. And so those types of waves travel a very long distance. Now the thing is to not be too far on either side of the spectrum, because when you do that, there's pretty much a denaturation of the cellular structure. And the thing that has to be understood here is that you have to pair certain types of light with certain types of light. So in nature, blue light must always be paired with red light. So this is why you see, for example, the police siren light is always blue and red. Nature has the sun and the sky. So the sun actually represents red energy or yellow energy, and then the sky is blue energy. So these colors are supposed to come together in nature. Whenever you take one and isolate it, that actual light becomes harmful. So we call this, in cell phones, we call that blue light toxicity, which attacks your thyroid glands and any other types of parts of the body, which can cause harm. So if we're talking about 5G or anything like that, we would have to balance that out with the other spectrum side of gamma radiation to make that not harmful. But the thing is, they're not balancing that out properly. So with light, everything has to be in a holistic family, basically. And it's nothing different from vitamins or any type of family structure. Everything has to come together in a package deal. And whenever we isolate something, in chemistry we call that a drug, and drugs are very addictive. The thing to be understood here is also grass is green because the light that green reflects is proper for it to gain its proper nutrients. So for example, if you have violet light, that's going to attract a lot of heat, and then red light's going to reflect a lot of heat. But in the middle you have green, which does both. So the sun and the grass being green, if you ask somebody why is the grass green, they would say because of chlorophyll. But that's not why it's green, that's what makes it green. Why it's green is because green is a neutral color, meaning that it attracts nor reflects too much sunlight. Therefore, it creates a equilibrium with the energy of the sun. So therefore, it's not deficient in nutrients, nor is it going to be too hot and be burned by the sun. So the color wavelength of green is very important to understand when it comes to the planet and the grass and everything like that. And this is no different from any type of other energy. So in relation to that, with conversion reactions, everything in nature has to work off a other element to properly function. What I mean by that is, you see the earth upside down, but your brain turns it right side up. And so since there's a conversion reaction that takes place, that happens with everything in nature. So the sun and the earth operate on a conversion reaction. You would say, okay, the sun makes everything hot. But if you were to be in space, or you would see that it's dark, and you would see that space is also cold. But yet the sun's sitting right out there. Because that's the reason space is dark and cold, because there's no type of matter for it to have a conversion reaction process with. What makes the earth hot is the conversion reaction that it has in relation to the sun. So all the elements that make the earth warm are already present on the earth, and the sun activates the energies on the earth. So the metals and different types of minerals in the earth are activated by the sun through a conversion reaction, and through that process it's actually heated up. So whenever we're speaking about lights or wavelengths, we have to understand the elementals when it comes to how light affects organic life and non-organic life forms, and how that affects the mind and the body, and how we can use light to better understand our bodies, to not make us sick. And this actually goes into a field of science or study, which I would call digital hygiene. And it seems like we're going into a time period where we're being very digitally unhygienic. And that goes back into the 5G and all these types of things, which can cause toxicity in the blood to be activated based off a lack of bacterial flora that's in the gut. Like I said, all things are based off conversion reactions. So certain waves of energy, radiation or whatnot, can actually activate a toxicity in the blood, which can cause an actual virus. And today we know we're dealing with the so-called coronavirus here. So that's something to be understood with how the body responds to light and radiation, and to keep yourself digitally hygienic. I'm going to stop the video here. If you have any comments or questions, just please put them in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible.